telling is not selling.
No.
Give up that idea that you need a better presentation. People buy faster than they think.
Yeah.
And that means that people buy what you have to offer long before you have actually told them what it is specifically, if you know how to do it well. And of course, there's dumb questions in sales.
All right. Welcome to this week's Personal Selling Weekly. Usually I'm sitting behind that camera, and now Henrik invited me to come up with him on stage today. I'm excited about it. And I'm doing it because a couple of weeks ago, we had our monthly masterclass, and Henrik, he brought up a sales handbook from 1936 with the name Volvo written on it. And it got me thinking, what was it that Volvo knew around 100 years ago that might still be relevant today, Henrik? Please tell us the story.
You could say that Volvo have always been, I think, known for being innovative, but I think also when it comes to actually how to interact with their customers, I would say that what they knew back in 1936 will be very new for a lot of companies today, at least from my opinion.
And what was it that really struck you there? What did they know that that is something that you feel like you can build on today? And so, was there something specific that this emphasized?
I think basically what they said is that this is the manual they have written for internal use for their salespeople in all the different sales offices around the world. And they set up by saying, wow, you know, sales is an art form. And I said, okay, yeah, I could buy into that. But the basic idea they brought into this is that you need to find your own method. You need to make it personal. And no, we are not providing a script in this manual. You have to basically, you have to tailor what you're doing so that it becomes true to yourself. And I think there they really already caught on to something very important early on. But what we have seen in, you know, the whole sales training development is that, especially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, there was this big idea that if we could just script out exactly what we wanted the salespeople to say, then they could become more successful.
Yes.
Or we could make onboard salespeople faster.
Yeah.
But then, how many of you out there have ever received a call from a salesperson that worked from a script and at the same time had a really good experience with it? It's not working. No. Because each salesperson are different, and the customers they are calling are different. So how on earth can you believe that you can have one script that will fit all these different circumstances? So what they also claimed in this handbook is that there's no structures to sales. You just have to wing it. and there again, I would say that, so there I was not maybe totally in agreement with them. But what I really liked is that they said, if you have to read this manual, you need to understand the product, you need to memorize and internalize this so that you can make it your own. I think that was a really strong message. Yeah. I would though say that I think what we know now today about neurology and how people think, how people make decisions, I think there are some structures, some strategies you can apply, but it can never become mechanic. No. Because if it becomes too rigid and mechanic, it will not feel human, it will not feel natural. And if it's not feeling natural and human, it's very difficult to design what I talk about as good buying experience for your clients. Yeah. Having said that, it doesn't mean that there's not certain fixed points you can pay attention to when you have a conversation with a client. But I think it's amazing that already back then, they actually saw some really things. There's one more thing I would like to disagree with them in that, is that they said that sales is not something that can be taught. So basically said either you are born salesman or you can forget about it. And that's not my experience. I think actually a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people can learn to be really good salespeople if they know some fundamentals about how to go about having what I would say high quality dialogues with other people.
I think a lot of people always talk about the born salesperson, which always have a lot of great energy and have a presence in the room, and that's obviously a positive thing, but that's not all of it. And I come to think about a personal anecdote from, I think it was in 6th grade, and I was performing a live theater play. And I had to learn all these different lines.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I could actually memorize everything completely that I could start acting.
Yeah.
Up until then, I was just remembering lines. And that was what everybody else on that stage besides me did. And it's a dead experience for the audience, even though I'm like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I remember people coming up to me saying, "Oh, I could really feel you there," and I was feeling it as well.
Yeah.
So there are some nuance also to when does the script make sense, or do you have to learn it everything? So how do you distinguish between making it your own and the process to actually get there? Because there are some things that you are supposed to say in a sales conversation that can help drive the conversation in the right direction.
I would say that there's a very big difference being an actor on a stage, performing a theater, a piece of theater, because there you are basically the media from the artist who have written the play. And again, nobody expects you to be you on that stage. So there you remember exactly what the author have written. You are even doing deep trans identification so that you can become a person you are not. So that's the art of being a good actor, is that you can actually not be yourself and be somebody else and be congruent about that.
Yeah.
But for me, that's a different business than being a salesperson.
Yeah, true.
I think, but some salespeople think that they should be acting.
Yeah.
And they should be somebody else. They should be able to say exactly the same thing as this really good salesperson is saying, because then I would become good. And I think it's a trap.
Yeah.
I think again, what we teach people in our personal selling program is that you need to believe that you can actually be successful being yourself. Because when the customer can feel who you are, then they relax and they will trust in you much faster. Very few salespeople is good enough actors to stay in role, in character.
Yeah.
So I think it's not that it cannot be done, but I really recommend you to just be yourself. I think that can be difficult enough, but start there. And then there's certain structures we can teach you so that you can have success with more different customers more of the time. And trust me, it's not by memorizing what precisely to say when in a conversation, because then the customer will end up with this experience that this is not tailored to me. This is something you're saying to anyone.
Yeah.
And again, you could imagine being on a date with a person who is basically saying the same thing to you as they said to the people they met in the previous 50 dates. Not very sexy, as I would say. No.
If it's well performed, I think it can work. But so this is not about succeeding. This is about taking it from good to great to the next level, really.
Yeah.
So what I hear you say is emphasize more on structure rather than script.
Yeah, I think more focus on structure than content.
Yes.
And I think that's also what I think the person who wrote this manual back almost 100 years ago already understood. That we cannot script this out and really give our customer the experience we want them to have when they buy a Volvo from us. We want salespeople who basically show up as themselves so that they are authentic, because we have an authentic product. So it have to be aligned.
Yeah.
I think we can add to the equation, which will help most salespeople, is that there is certain structure, some certain steps they can move in relation to, which will make them more effective. And for example, maybe it's not a good idea that you pitch your product before you know what the client wants to buy. So as a salesperson, it can be very powerful to understand, okay, why are you there? What do you want? It's important to understand that you need to create some kind of relationship, rapport with the client. Then from there, it's really useful to take a few minutes to understand what they want, why they want it, so that you can tailor your message to that specific person you're meeting that specific day. So again, so there are certain ways you can structure the way you interact with a customer, which can be the same almost every time, but the content, the way you do it, have to be tailored to the situation, to the client who is actually in front of you that day. And when I say that day, because everyone is not exactly the same every day you meet them. So you can have a client you meet more than once. The first time they're in a really good mood. Maybe they had just had a really nice weekend. Next time, they're stressed. And they will behave differently. And you need to be able to interact with a human being who's in front of you and not the person you met last time. And so there, I think, yes, I'm totally agreeing with no script. Script stinks. Yes, I understand that some people can be a born salesperson, but I don't believe that more people cannot really been taught how to do it more effectively. So I think, again, in certain aspects, I think they were really ahead of their time. And I think with what we know now, we can add something to this foundation which will make it even stronger.
Yeah, so structure over content.
Yeah.
And I'm getting the feeling that this is tying to the satisfaction selling method.
I think when you talk to me, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is an example of the structure.
Yeah, I think this is one structure out of many structures.
Yes.
I think, and again, for those of you who know, maybe already have studied the satisfaction selling methodology a little, well, I think we'll agree that that's probably the strongest structure that's out there today. There's other very strong structures as well, but I haven't seen a structure that's so powerful in generating good buying experiences for customers, which allow them basically to get more value from the conversation with you again and again.
So to implement the structure of the satisfaction selling method, what are we actually learning?
A lot of things. It's both about learning how you can basically lead yourself so that you can go into a conversation with a client without needing anything. Because if you need something specific from an interaction, you cannot be in that conversation with that customer that day. You will be in your own fantasy world. So you need to understand why you're there, what you want. And then you need to be totally okay with any outcome so that the customer can be set free to actually share what they truly want. And when you understand that, now you understand whether what you have can help them.
Yeah.
If yes, then you can move on and present a solution which the customer then would agree to because they can see that they can benefit from it. And then you can start to implement so that they can get what they want. I think that's basically what we teach people. And I think there's a lot of micro strategies or micro skills you need to master this. You need to understand how to basically lead yourself somatically. You need to understand how to use your Acuity so that you can listen not only with your ears but also your eyes. You need to understand how to listen not only for what the client is saying but also how they phrase it. You need to be able to craft high quality questions. You need to understand how to work with storytelling or narratives. Because again, it's a very powerful way if you can build your solution into a story. And then you need to be able to negotiate, and you need to also actually implement and do things. So it's a complex skill set.
Sounds like a lot of work, but those are basically all the different elements that you put into the structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And depending on the day and the client, you need to tailor it.
Yeah.
So again, then, if you're curious about what the structure is within the satisfaction selling, then go to our website there or buy the book. or listen to some of the previous episodes of our Personal Selling Weekly. And we are not keeping this secret.
No,
and I think the reason why we are so happily sharing it is that we know that people who really want it still would benefit from having some in-person training and mentoring, because that would just totally accelerate their learning process. But again, I thought it was fun I just got the first page of this handbook, and I know this is a book I will get my hand on. The only thing which makes it a little difficult is that I have only found it in German from 2000, and I'm not that...
That's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a challenge, but...
No, there's one last thing I'd like to leave people with here, because one thing is learning something new and training these different skills. Are there anything that we might need to unlearn to be able to do this more effectively?
Yes. I think that there's a lot of things people need to unlearn. I think one of the very central things, which is really, really, really central, is that telling is not selling.
No.
So give up that idea that you need a better presentation. I think really people buy faster than they think. Yeah. And that means that people buy what you have to offer long before you have actually told them what it is specifically, if you know how to do it well. So, a lot of unlearning for most people.
Yes.
But I think that that's just...
You have to spend your time doing something, right?
Yes. That's the nature of it. So, I hope you have enjoyed this episode this week. And we look forward to see you again next week. If you have any questions, put them down below. And of course, press this like button and subscribe so that you will be notified by the coming episodes, which we launch every week, of course.
Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for letting me on here, Henrik.
You're welcome.
Personal Selling Weekly.